So one of the memorable experiences I had on my mission with helping a less active was with a young boy or young man named Chaba. He was about 17, I think, when we had first met. And it was in a city called Solnok. So I was about halfway through my mission at this point. And when I had first gotten to the city with my companion, we both went in, knew there hadn't ever been sisters serving there before. And so we were opening it to sister missionaries. And so the elders that had already been there, they were just giving us updates about the city and everything, telling us who the members were, telling us about, I don't know, just giving us all the information. And when they mentioned Chaba, they were like, okay, well, he's not active. Just be careful. I don't know what had happened in the past. I just knew that he had been baptized when he was younger, or just a few years prior. I think he was about 15 or 16 when he was baptized, but it wasn't too long after that that he'd gone inactive. And so that's all we had really known at the time. But after being in Solnok for, I think we'd only been there about a week, we went on a trip with the branch members to go meet with another city, another branch, to have a big activity. And he actually came. And so we met Chaba down at this activity. And I was just excited because I knew that he had been inactive, and the fact that he was willing to go to a big function like that, I thought, this is great. Like, this is good. He's not completely against the church. I just felt this is good. And so after meeting him that day, I just kept thinking after that, like, you know, it would be good to try to meet with him, try to see what's going on. Because if the elders hadn't had much success, I didn't know if we would be able to talk to him and figure something out. And the following preparation day that we had, we actually ran into him at the mall. I don't remember why we were at the mall, because we weren't shopping. We must have just been using the bathroom in there or something after emailing. But we saw him, and I just thought, oh, perfect. Like, here he is. Here we are. We might as well talk about perhaps meeting sometime. And so I brought it up, and he was like, great. How about tomorrow? And I was just like, oh, great. Yeah, tomorrow sounds good. So I was just surprised that he was so willing to meet all of a sudden. And so we set a time to meet at the branch house for the following day, the following evening, because we knew that the elders and other branch members would be in and out of the branch house. So we thought this is a good place to meet. And so we went there, and we had our first meeting with him. And it was interesting. He wasn't as willing to just pray or read the scriptures or do all these little things, but he didn't sound like he was completely opposed to changing or to coming back. And so it was kind of hard to figure out what to do, because he wasn't as willing to take the steps to become active again, at least not right away. But we could tell that there was something there, that he had some sort of desire. And so we just thought, okay, like, me and my companion talked about it, and we thought, okay, we'll like keep working with him. And with time, I don't know if it was that Sunday or the following Sunday, but he did come to church. He sat in the back, but he did come, and we were so happy when we saw him there. We were like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like, he's doing something. And we just kept inviting him to read his scriptures, to start praying, to just really start doing those things that we knew would help him. And with time, it was miraculous to see how much of a turnaround he was able to have. Because initially, where he was so stubborn, not as willing to take the advice or the counsel that we were giving him up front, within I don't know how long, but it wasn't long before we saw him coming to church regularly. And eventually he was able to start passing the sacrament again. And it wasn't much longer after that that he actually was able to advance in the priesthood and start blessing the sacrament. And later, it must have been about a transfer later, I got to go back to the city. I'd been transferred out of Solnok later, but I had permission to go back and see him baptize his aunt, who had been another one of our investigators. And so it was just, his whole life was just a miracle to me, to see that, to see the progress, to see how the atonement changed his life, to see how those, I don't know, just the little things that we're supposed to be doing do make a big difference. The praying, reading our scriptures, attending church. He went from being kind of more of an angry, having more of an angry, upset personality to being more cheerful, being more optimistic, and he started to see more value in himself, which was great. And today he still has a fantastic testimony. We keep in touch, and he's been able to help in the young men's program a lot. back in Solnoke. And there, when I was serving there, you'd only have about 20 people in church on Sunday, including the missionaries. But things have really progressed. Things have gotten a lot better. They probably have more like 30 to 40 people in church now. And so he has young men to work with, and he's now preparing to go on a mission himself. And so it's a miracle to me. It was one of those memorable experiences. It was just good to see that like, obviously you want to go find those that haven't heard about the gospel. You find those people that haven't had contact with the church yet. But there are plenty of inactive people or less active people that need it just as much. And he was one of them that we were able to help. So I had a funny experience. I think it was my second transfer in the country. So I had explained before how I had served in Miskolc for a couple of weeks, then went to Buda for a week, and then to Szeged for a few weeks, but then I went back to Miskolc the next transfer with another sister, with a new companion. And we'd only been together for about a week, I think. But we were traveling by bus somewhere. I think we were off to go visit some members. And so I was relying very heavily on my companion because I was still getting to know how the bus system worked and how to read maps and stuff. It was still new to me. So I was relying a lot on her. And we got to this one bus stop, and she's like, oh, this is the one, we need to get off here. So I stepped off the bus, and then I turned around and looked at her, and she didn't come off yet. And she was like, actually, no, it's the next one. Or like she second guessed herself, but then the door shut. She was on the bus, and I was on the road, and then the bus left. And I was like, oh, I'm alone. My companion just left. And I started laughing, not hysterically because that would be weird, but I just had to laugh to myself. I was like, oops, I touched the mic. But I just had to laugh to myself because I was just like, this is one of those situations that, I don't know, it was just funny because you're supposed to be with your companion 24/7. That's one of the big things people know going into a mission is like, you're going to be with someone 24/7. And so to find myself alone in a country where I hardly spoke the language, didn't know how to get to where we were going or where I should be, it was kind of humorous to me at first. And I was like, okay, well, maybe, as I was thinking about it, I was like, I should probably just wait here. But then I thought again, I was like, well, maybe I should get on the next bus and try to just go a few more stops and see if she's up there where we were trying to go. And so I was trying to read the chart that they had that showed when the next bus would come. And I don't know, I felt a little in over my head because I still didn't understand how it worked. So I was just standing around, and there were some other people at the bus stop. So I just felt really awkward. I was just like, I don't know how I got myself here. But then in the distance, I hear my name. I hear, Sister Kimball. Sister Kimball, don't get on the next bus. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I start looking around, and there's my companion like booking it through this field. There's like trees and bushes, and she's like running. And I was like, oh my gosh, like where did she come from? And it turned out that the bus, after it had left my bus stop, it had like wrapped around this block. It was a really big block. There were buildings and this big field and everything. So it had actually just gone around and like stopped on the other side. And so it was really easy for her to just get off the bus and like run over to where I was. But it was hilarious. I was just like, man, that was good. So we both got on the next bus together, and then we went to where we were supposed to be. But yeah, she was just so worried I was going to get on a bus and leave her. So luckily I didn't, even though I had thought about it. But yeah, so it worked out. We got back together. So in the last city that I served in, the name of the city is Pécs. It is a fantastic city, very beautiful, and the branch there is very strong. And I had an incredible experience there. Again, it was my last city where I was able to see the ward or the branch reach out and really show Christ-like love to one of my investigators. And through this experience, I also came to see more of the Lord's hand in people's lives. I was able to see more that, yeah, he really does love all of his children, despite their circumstances. And so when I got to this city, we worked out with the elders who was going to teach what level of English class, because we would teach English once a week. And so we had a beginner level, an intermediate level, and an advanced level. And me and my companion, we decided to take the beginner level, kind of give my companion a chance to really try to teach and use language because she was new. I was training her. And so the beginner class was a good level because she's a beginner with Hungarian. They're beginners with English, so they just can feel for each other, you know. And there was a man in our class, his name is Yanosh, and he had been going to this class, I don't know for how many years, but I know that he had been attending the English class for more than a year. It may have been a couple. And I had been told about him by the elders beforehand, like, watch out for Yanosh, he's different, be careful, kind of thing. And I was like, okay. So we go into this class to teach, and I came to find out who Yanosh was, and he had a lot of questions in the class. And I wouldn't want to say he was disruptive, but you could tell that he was different than the other students in the class. He was older. I'm not sure how old he was. He must have been in his 50s, 60s, probably 60s. And he was missing a lot of his teeth and just kind of scruffy looking, but he wasn't rude. He just had questions. He really wanted to learn. And he came up to me and my companion after class and just started, I don't even remember the questions he was asking. Some of them were related to English, but then he was talking about the Beatles because he really loves music. And so he was just going off on all these different things. And then he started talking about his parents, and just lots of random things were going on. But he just talked about how much he really wanted to learn English. And we had sent around a sign-up sheet in our class for those that would want to have lessons outside of this English class, outside of Angolora is what we called it. And so that would give us the opportunity to teach these people one-on-one. And our deal was that we would teach them about a half hour of English, and then the remaining half hour we would teach them about our church, about the gospel. And so they knew this up front, that would be the deal. And so we sent around this sheet, and this man, Yanosh, he had signed up to do this. And so later, when I was making phone calls to see who of our students was still interested in meeting personally with us, I decided, maybe it would be good to go ahead and give him a call. Maybe that could be a good experience for him. And so we decided to do it. We decided to meet with him, and he was so excited. He was so excited. He didn't have a family, and so he just lived alone. And so I'm sure he really loved having interactions with people. And plus he would get to learn more about how to speak English and even the church. He said that would be interesting as well. And I came to find out later that he had already been through a lot of rough experiences. Well, just his life in general, but just in coming to our English classes, there had been elders in the past, unfortunately, that would turn him away, that would tell him to leave because they saw him as a disruptive individual, that he distracted from the lessons, and that they said that he made the other students feel uncomfortable. And so I learned that sometimes he had been rejected, that he had been turned away and told that he couldn't be there. And when I learned this, it broke my heart, because I had seen him interacting with the people in the class, and no one seemed mad at him. Sometimes people maybe they'd get a little bit upset if it kind of made the lesson go slower because of his questions, but for the most part, people, they would try to help him learn as well. And so I didn't understand why in the past people had turned him away, why they had why they made him feel not welcome. And so I kind of made it my own goal or my own mission to really help him feel God's love, to help him feel welcome. Even if he never ended up joining the church or anything, I just wanted him to feel God's love, to feel that he belonged somewhere. And so we began teaching him, and it was kind of rough at first, because we felt that maybe the elders should be teaching him. We wanted the elders to be there when we met with him, because we were sisters and we weren't sure how that relationship would be, even though we were meeting in the branch house. And so we tried to transfer him over to the elders for them to teach him, but it just didn't work. It didn't feel right. It didn't seem like what would be best for him. And so in the end, we kept him as our investigator, and we started getting some members involved. There were a couple of members in the branch that would come meet with him at the branch house. And it was hard. He had a lot of learning disadvantages. He would struggle sometimes to stay focused, or sometimes he just struggled to understand what we were trying to teach him. So things would seem pretty well. Say we were teaching him about Christ's gospel, and we would go through the 5 different steps of it. Like, you need faith, repentance, baptism. We just go through all that. And sometimes we just ask him, like, well, why do you think this step comes before this step. And sometimes he just frees up and not really know what to say. He's like, and like he wouldn't know. And we're like, are we not teaching him well? Are we not making sense? So it was kind of hard. We'd have to reteach lessons a lot. But he still wanted to learn. He wanted to. He was trying. And so it was sometimes discouraging just how slowly things were going. But we just felt like we couldn't give up on this man. And he struggled with a lot of health issues later. He ended up being taken to the hospital for some health problems that he had. And he did not look well. We had actually gone to visit him one day at his home because we knew something was wrong. And when we found him there, we could just tell right away that things were not good. So we got a member involved who then called some paramedics or just some people to come take a look at him. And then later he was admitted to the hospital. And so it was scary. We weren't sure if he was going to make it. We weren't sure how he was doing. We didn't know, but we did go visit him in the hospital a few times, and later he improved so much. But I ended up leaving the country before, like, my mission ended before we were able to start meeting with him regularly again. And I didn't know what was going to happen, but it was so neat while I was there to see him start going to our family night events, to see him start going to church, to see these members reaching out to him and caring about him. And that member that had come over to his home and helped us get the paramedics there, he was always so kind to him, so kind to Yanosh, and made him feel important. And he helped him learn a lot. And I was so grateful later. I had already been home for a couple of months, but I got a message from some members on Facebook. A few of them messaged me, and they're all so excited. They're like, Yanosh is getting baptized. He's getting baptized. And I was so shocked. We had already extended a baptismal date to him while I was there that he accepted. But when he got sick, all the plans changed. So it wasn't going to happen anymore. But then he pulled through it, he got better, and he got baptized. And I was kind of sad I wasn't able to be there, that I was on the other side of the world. But the fact that the members were so excited for him, I just knew that he was in good hands. I knew that he was in a good place. And even though he still had a lot of challenges, he still had a hard time learning, and his health wasn't always so good, he made it. He got baptized. And I remember seeing pictures on Facebook and just being so excited, being like, oh, he did it. And then the members would message me again saying, oh, he got the priesthood. He's been ordained. Oh, he's conducting music in church. Like, just these great messages that I was just like, this man that had been rejected, that had been turned away so many times, was now finally in a place where he belonged. He didn't have a family before, but then he found one. And I know that that's something that the gospel does for people. That it's something that gives them a home. And it really feels like coming home. And unfortunately, I don't have Yanosh's address, and he's not on Facebook, so I can't have direct contact with him like I wish I did. But I know that he has come to a place where he's found eternal happiness. He's found a family. He's found something that has changed his life forever. And I know that he's changed the lives of the members in Page. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. It has really strengthened my testimony so that I know that, like, I can say so confidently that God is aware of his children. He is aware of their circumstances. He's aware of who they need to meet. He's aware of the right timing for them to come in contact with the church. So maybe we meet somebody that's not ready, but that doesn't mean that later they won't be. And so I'm so grateful for that experience that I had.